What's up, y'all? I think I've done a lot of teaching on here somewhat, and just sharing my different thoughts or trying to show in scripture where we might be doing things wrong. I think that we have gotten addicted to our traditions, and it's hard to hear that sometimes there's some things we can do all our life and have the wrong approach, right? Or if we don't have the wrong approach, there's times where God changes his approach and we don't change ours because we don't understand what God is doing. I think we do that because at times we think that we possess the church. The church doesn't belong to the people. The gospel belongs to the people. But the church, the unit, God can take that unit wherever he wants, just like Israel. There were times where they moved through the wilderness a certain way, and then he would tell them, "Hey, stay here or go there, or stay here for this amount of days, or pray about this here." It's God was in their mind, in their voice, even speaking with an audible voice, because they were supposed to follow the words of God or follow the directions of God. I think the church has kind of settled in to our approach to ministry that we made up, that's comfortable for us. And we stopped believing that just as Israel had a voice coming out of the wilderness that they were supposed to follow, um, we are the same way. We have a voice. My sheep know my voice, right? That's because there's a voice that we should be following and direction we should be following. I think that we have kind of traded in the voice for something that feels more comfortable to us. Israel did the same thing in the Bible, right? They were on a 40-year journey, but they decided to bring in golden calf. They decided to bring in all these other things they worshiped or brought in between their relationship with God, looking for direction. And I believe, I mean, in our reading, we see there were times where God wasn't saying anything and they didn't quite know what to do. And because they didn't know what to do, they turned back to something that was more comfortable for them. When they were out there with Moses and they were hungry, what did they say? Let's go back, right? They were willing to go back to bondage for the garlic and the leek, not realizing, hey, bondage came with that garlic and leek. Number one, the garlic and leek wasn't even that good, but in starvation, they were looking for something that they were used to, right? And I think that in a sense, we as the church have gotten used to our form of worship, our presentation, our this, our that. And we forgot that the church belongs to God and he can direct it in which way it goes. Now, I know some people will sit back and say, but Christian, is nothing wrong. Well, it is, it has to be something wrong when we're not making the impact on community and the country like we really should. I've had debates with leaders and pastors, and I never understood why this is a debate. And maybe my thinking is too innocent or too frail. Um, I don't know what it is, but I think it's confusing to challenge leaders to think that maybe we should perceive what God is doing. But I'm realizing that there's so many leaders that are gotten used to or they've prospered off of what they've decided the kingdom is or what they've decided church is. Um, I pastored for 26 years. I traveled the world for 15 years in missionary journey. I've done a lot of things. I've taught, I've trained, I've spoken in universities, I've spoken at commencement ceremonies in Southern Africa for new ministers coming out. In India, I've done this work. And so one of the most preposterous things it is that I hear that people say is that I hate the church. You know, people have said I hate the church. In that case, did Paul hate it when he challenged it? When he wrote a letter, was he hating or wanting the church to see the fullness of what God has to do through us? If Paul can write letters, so can Christian. And I think it's the arrogance now that makes us believe that nobody can challenge the church or what we do. Well, I'm challenging it because there's a great commission that we have from the Lord to say, hey, go into the highways and the hedges, compel men to come, leave where you are, go, go, go. That's in the commission. And I think that we have traded in going for staying, because staying seems to uh, enrich us. Staying lets us build buildings and do all these things. Staying drives what matters to us. Going is we're out of control then. And I think that's why we don't want to go, or we want to make leaders like myself seem insane, or put things out like he hates the church, because we don't want to go and not know. We don't want to go by faith. We want to move by knowledge. And because we want to move by knowledge, knowledge says, hey, this is comfortable, right? We ordain our people. We have a corporate ladder in church where you go from evangelist to pastor, as if the fivefold gift is a corporate ladder to climb. I want to say that for a minute. There is no corporate ladder in the church. Pastor is not better than evangelist, right? Bishop is not better than pastor. Apostle is not better than bishop. These are roles. These are roles that you are gifted to operate in. And so we have people believing that because they're an evangelist, oh, that's the mail room. That's insane. That's a gift. So what we do is, instead of climbing, or instead of expanding our gifting as an evangelist, instead of expanding our gifting, or as a pastor, expanding your pastorate, or as a bishop, expanding your reach, or as an apostle, expanding your reach to lead leaders, instead of expanding, we climb. And so the kingdom goes out. It doesn't go up. In the secular world, you start in the basement and then you go up. But in the kingdom, you advance, or you expand whatever gifting you have. And so what we have now is almost like a Hunger Games in the church, where we're all racing to be somebody, or to take somebody's spot, or if no one will give us a spot, we'll just start our own spot. And truly, we have walked away from the principles that makes the church effective. And so after 26 years of pastoring, and this is not a new message, if you can check old messages that I've preached back in 2001 and 2002 and 2003, 20 years ago, I was teaching this same message in my church. A leader asked me one time, well, why did you retire? Why didn't you just preach this to your church? Well, what's the point of staying in one place, teaching one thing to one people? I retired after 26 years because there's a mandate to say, if you are carrying this, then go empower the church, the ecclesia. Go challenge the ecclesia to do the work of God and abandon the work of man. And so in my pastoring and in my traveling, through sickness, through dialysis, through the eulogizing my child and my father and my mother over a 5-year time, through the challenges of almost losing my wife and losing my own life through sickness and heart issues and kidney failure, God showed me something, that maybe the stress that we're going through to build the church is killing us because we're going about it the wrong way. And so, yes, I retired in 2019 while I was on dialysis, and I asked the Lord for a kidney. The Lord blessed me with a kidney in 2020, right? But as I was retiring, the Lord said, leave all of this because I want to show you something. Now, I didn't leave because out of failure. My church was paid off. My church building, we owned a half a block of property. Everything was beautiful. But I was so unhappy because I said, wow, I have all these impactful people around my life, all these impactful people in my church. We need to loose these people to touch the world around them. These gatherings of the same people getting freed from the same things is not the will of God. It is to empower. What did Jesus say? Jesus said, you're fishers now, but I will make you fishers of men. What was he saying? I'm going to use the same gift you have, but I'm going to make you impactful over here. So this is the thing. And this is my big crux of why we shouldn't keep people in church buildings, is because we should be speaking into their gift, finding out who they are, discipling them, and showing them how to use their gift in Walmart, in Target, on their job, hairdressers and barbers, accountants, whatever their gifting was before they came to church, we ought to be stirring up that gift that's within them to go touch the world that's around them. And so, yes, I wrote this book. I wrote this book in 2019 called I Left Church to Serve God, right? Now, again, in my innocent mind of, hey, I just want the church to get stronger. I just want the church to get better. I just want us to move in wisdom and knowledge and understanding. I want us to reach the heights that we see in scripture. So we're not just reading about David and we're not just reading about Moses, but we're becoming a living epistles read of men, right? We become the 67th book and the 68th book. You understand? The Bible never stopped being written. As long as there are believers in the earth, the Bible won't stop being written because you're a living epistle read of men. But this is the issue. We're not teaching people to write their lives out like an epistle or to live their lives out like an epistle. We're idolizing our creations. We're idolizing our buildings. We're idolizing biblical characters as if we don't have a call on our life to do. So yes, I wrote this book called I Left Church to Serve God. Now, a lot of people had a big problem with it. Of course, a lot of people had a problem with Jesus when he came stirring up religious systems, right? And so yes, so what does it mean then, Christian? What does it mean? Well, let me read it. Let me read what I wrote on the back of this book so you can get an explanation of it. It is on Amazon.com if you would like to get it. Christian Bernard Winters, 1441. I left church to serve God. But let me read the background, the back of the cover for you, and then I'll explain in where I was and why I wrote this book. My hope is that this book causes you to dissect the time. Can't see with my glasses on. My hope is that this book causes you to dissect the time you spent serving in church, and to determine how much of it has advanced the biblical mission Jesus left for us to accomplish. Always remember this, my friend. Truth is what God said. Religion is what man said God said. Becoming the person of your dreams is not something you wish for. It is something you're changed into. I have served God and the church in teaching ministry since the age of 14. I have traveled internationally and pastored churches until I was prompted to stop at the age of 41 and consider whether the church has kept the mission that Jesus died for. After much anguish and hesitation, I had to admit that we haven't. I believe that there is an indictment against the church for its disregard of the mandate that Jesus founded the church upon. My ultimate question is, have we built God's church or our own? Has branding ourselves taken the focus away from the Great Commission? I fear that we have fallen more in love with the culture of our churches and denominations and celebrations than the mandate of Jesus Christ, which was to love extravagantly, serve relentlessly. This book is a journey of my life and leadership from 14 to 41, and how the story of Nehemiah inspired me to leave the comforts of our churches and serve people outside of ourselves that have had the walls and the gates of their lives burned down. No fear, no shame, no compromise. So why did I leave the church? I left the church to serve God. Well, Christian, come on now. What sense does that make? How in the world could you leave church to serve God? Well, because in most churches, we're not serving God. We're serving the vision of this leader. That may be whatever it is. It may be prosperity. It may be, I don't know, it may be whatever they dream of. But the problem is, my job as a Christian is not to serve the dream of a man. In fact, the job of the pastor is to help me get out what God put in me, not for me to run around doing his bidding, right? And this is the pastor talking. I let my people go to go see what they need to do in the world, what they were called to. What did Jeremiah say? Jeremiah talks about the calling of God that came when? Before I was ever born. That means that what God put in you, my friend, was there before you joined the church. And so you shouldn't then abandon what God put in you before you were born now. We can't ice what you were called to do to now go do what this person was called to do. The pastor is called to lead the people, not for the people to follow him wherever he's going. Jesus said, I'll make you. In other words, this 3.5 years that you follow me, I'm making you. You're not making me. And too many pastors have been made by their people, made stars, made rich, made wealthy, right? You've helped them lift their low self-esteem, all kinds of things. But have they made you anything? Have they observed you? Now, look at Jesus. Look what Jesus did. Jesus stood on the banks of the water, and he must have saw these guys fishing and said, wow, these guys is out here. They dead serious about this, and they're very good at what they do. They're very good at their gift without me. So what I'm going to do is, wow, I see these guys doing so good. Wow, I can take their gift and I can show them how to use their gift to do this, right? So what he did was enhance. He used the same gift they've been having and showed them how to advance who they were. And so why did you leave church to serve God? Because again, in church, we're not serving God most times. We're not serving God. We're serving tradition. We're serving First Sunday in white. We're serving Pentecost Sunday in white. We're serving Easter service. We're serving whatever thing that we're doing. And I think that we've abandoned what the Lord really wants us to do. So yes, I want people then to go serve the world with their gift. Now, how do we do it? Check out the next video.